Welcome to Food Talk for Health. Here is your host, Tonia King.
Joining me today is cookbook author Emily Maxson. Today we're talking about the brand new book, Real Food Every Day. Thanks for joining me, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me, Tonia.
What a beautiful, beautiful book and an interesting story that you have to tell. Tell me about your story.
Well, about 27 years ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and I had part of my intestines removed in an emergency surgery, and then followed doctor's orders, taking prescriptions for about 10 years, popping in and out of the hospital for flare-ups. And then I stumbled upon, I say stumbled upon, but really I feel like God directed me to this diet. I had so many people pointing me towards it, called the specific carbohydrate diet, which has been a diet that eliminates complex carbohydrates in order to allow the intestinal tract to heal. And so it's a very strict program, and I followed it for 18 months, and my intestines were completely healed, and that was about 17 years ago. And I have not been on medication or in the hospital for anything since then.
What a wonderful story. Wow. It's the power of food.
Absolutely. I learned firsthand that food is medicine. It was strictly, food and diet and, just diet and lifestyle changes, but primarily it was the food.
I have not heard of that particular diet. There are so many that are out there. Tell me about that.
There's a book called Breaking the Vicious Cycle, written by Elaine Gottschall, and she talks about the specific carbohydrate diet where food is created by molecules, either single cells, double cells, or multiple cells. And when we eat the double cells or multiple cells, if our intestines are inflamed or damaged, our body has a hard time absorbing those because they're multiple chains. So the theory is to eliminate those more complex foods, complex chains, carbohydrates, things like grains, sugars, starches, processed foods, those types of things. And then if you're only consuming these monosaccharides, your intestine can absorb the food properly, so there isn't undigested food left behind for bad bacteria to eat. And that's the vicious cycle. So if you have this food left behind that's not being absorbed, bad bacteria eats it, they cause more damage to your intestines, making it hard to absorb again. So if you eliminate those longer chains, and then your intestines can heal. So I did it for 18 months and just basically eating meat, fish, poultry, fruit, vegetables, seeds, some legumes, but just real food.
That doesn't sound too bad, actually.
No, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was challenging though, because you can't have additives and things that are in our convenience or processed foods. So I had to become an avid label reader and do a lot of scratch cooking at home. For example, if I wanted ketchup or mayonnaise, I had to create it from scratch.
It's pretty impressive that you were able to stay on that for 18 months. That's a long time.
I was really motivated after being sick for so long.
Of course.
I just felt, like you said, not so bad. I mean, there's worse things, but I had read a lot of testimony online and books of people who had success with it. So I was very motivated.
So when you got to the end, the 18 months, did you get to this point where I'm feeling good again? Like, what made you actually stop or actually adjust the diet?
The diet, they suggest you follow it for 1 to 2 years. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to go right in between that. I was feeling good immediately from starting the diet. My family was feeling good because they were eating everything that I was cooking. Everyone felt good. Nobody was getting sick. We weren't eating junk. We were eating healthy, real food. And so I used 18 months based on their recommendations. And some people who follow the specific carbohydrate diet do have to do it for life, but a lot of us can just reset our gut and be able to add some of those ingredients back into our diet that we were no longer allowed to have. So once I met that mark, I just started eating things that were not allowed previously and just seeing how my body reacted.
How did your doctor react? From a Western medicine perspective, it's like, wow, what changed, right? How did that whole thing work out?
Exactly. I had done the diet for about 3 months while I was on my medications as well, because I wanted to see if I had the self-discipline to do it. I was raising two young girls and just wanted to, knew it was a lot to do, get back in the kitchen and cook everything. So once I realized that it was attainable and I could do it after 3 months, I went and talked to my gastroenterologist, explained that I wanted to go off my medication and that I was following this diet. And he was actually very cool about it. He said, I can tell you with the data that we have, if you go off, there's a very small, you will most likely flare again and have active disease. And there's a good chance too that the medication that you're on won't work if you were to stop it and then start it again. But he said, you need to do what's best for you. And he had heard of the diet, knew that there was a grant for studying that diet, but a lot of time he admitted a lot of those don't go through because it's nutrition based, not pharmaceutical based. But he was familiar with it. He just said, I have to, as your doctor, you and your insurance company pay me a lot of money, and I need to tell you what I know, which is you will most likely relapse. But I went back 3 months later or 6 months later for a checkup, and they were shocked. And they said, this is great. We can share this with other people who are looking for alternative solutions or something to supplement the program they're following.
Yeah, you were the test study and you proved that it works. I think that's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now, this brand new book, Real Food Every Day, is a result of that success.
Yes, I wrote a book called Emily's Fresh Kitchen, Cooking Your Way to Better Health, where I shared a little bit about my health journey and the specific carbohydrate diet. And after writing that book, I felt I had more to share and more now that I have more food freedom and not on such a strict diet. I wanted to share more about what I eat every day, and because I'm still very cognizant of the power of food. And as much as can eat what I want now, I'm still very mindful of it because I want to keep my digestive tract healthy and, just make sure I don't go back to where I was, I guess.
Are you eating organic?
Mostly, yes, whenever I can.
Let's talk about some of the beautiful recipes in this book or any other tips that you'd like to share, but you have quite a few things in here. I love the section about learning to read labels because isn't that so important?
I think it's so important. I think it's important when you pick up a product to turn it around, ignore the marketing on the front, and turn it around and actually read the ingredient list and just pay attention to anything listed there that you're not familiar with or is difficult to pronounce, anything you don't recognize, and do a little more research before you decide to purchase that and eat it.
If you can't say it, I don't know if I'd want to eat it.
Exactly.
All right, Emily, let's dig into some of the recipes. Why don't you share a few with us?
Okay, so in the cookbook, I have a focus on increasing fiber. And so I wanted to give some simple and creative ways to add more fiber into your diet. So you would find some smoothies that typically are just made with fruit, have vegetables in them that are undetectable, like cherry and cauliflower smoothie, or the pomegranate, strawberry, and red cabbage smoothie. Those are great ways to get more fiber in your diet. One of my favorite recipes that is so simple to make is a roasted carrot soup with miso butter. And to create that recipe, you take carrots, just simple carrots, and rub them with olive oil, roast them in the oven, saute some onions and garlic, add the carrots and some vegetable or chicken broth and cook it down, and then puree it in the blender. And then I take a miso butter, which is just softened butter, and add like a few tablespoons of white miso paste to it and smash it up, blend it up, and then finish that soup. After it's blended, you return it to the pot and then add some of that miso butter into it. And it just provides this rich umami flavor to the roasted carrots. Carrots are high in fiber and great for your gut microbiome.
The miso definitely adds a specific flavor, doesn't it?
It does. And that's a fermented product, which also helps your microbiome, but it just adds great flavor. And then I love these seed crackers that I make because I love a good crunch, and a lot of crackers are overly processed and have things in them that aren't the best for me. And so I make these seed crackers by soaking flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, a variety of seeds with hot boiling water and a little arrowroot powder. And then once that has soaked for about 30 minutes, I spread it in a thin layer on a sheet pan, parchment lined sheet pan, and bake it in the oven at about 300 degrees for 45, 50 minutes. Sprinkle it with a little Maldon sea salt, some coarse salt, and then let it cool and break it up into cracker-sized pieces. That is a wonderful snack that's a staple at my house.
And so now that's just all straight seeds baked.
Yes. So the arrowroot powder and the flax seeds provide, become a little gelatinous and a binder, a natural binder
Ah,
to it. So it keeps all the seeds together. And if you see the cover of the cookbook, those are the crackers on the front.
oh yeah. Boy, what else is on the front of that cookbook? Wow, that is just beautiful. It looks like some type of beet puree or something. Tell me what that is.
That is a roasted beet hummus. Now, beets are wonderful for us, filled with all kinds of antioxidants and fiber as well. And to be honest, growing up, I didn't really care for beets, but I knew they had such nutritional value and they're beautiful. So I made a traditional hummus with let's see, garbanzo beans, tahini, lemon, garlic, a little olive oil, puree that, and add a roasted beet to that. But just cleaning a beet, cutting off the ends, wrapping it in foil and sticking it in the oven until it's nice and tender, and then adding that to the hummus to create that beautiful color and add some flavor to it.
It really is beautiful and quite nutritious when you look at everything together.
Yes, definitely.
What's sprinkled on top of this hummus on the cover?
On the cover, I took some of the crackers and crumbled them, and then I added a few pine nuts and some pomegranate seeds, and then just drizzled a little olive oil on top.
That is a beautiful snack and a healthy one at that.
Yes, definitely eye-catching.
Talking with Emily Maxson about her brand new book, Real Food Every Day. Now we're in the fall season, so let's talk about some fall recipes.
Well, I love apples in the fall. I love apple recipes, and I also love slaws, coleslaws made with cabbage, which is great way to get fiber. And so I have a manchego apple slaw recipe in the book where
Ooh.
chop up about a half a head of green cabbage and chop up some Honeycrisp apples. You can either do matchstick sized pieces or just little dice. Add that to the cabbage. Then I shred some manchego cheese into the dish and chop up a few chives, add that to the dish, and then whisk together a little mayonnaise, apple cider vinegar, and some salt. Toss that all together. It's wonderful. And it's a great fall dish.
It sounds so simple as well. Doesn't sound like a big deal.
Simple. I think cooking does not have to be complicated. For the holidays, I have another salad that I like to serve. Roasted grape and burrata salad. So I take red grapes, seedless red grapes, and I roast them in the oven and I toss them with greens, with some burrata and toasted walnuts and greens, and just a simple vinaigrette over the top. And it's just fabulous. It's amazing the sweetness of those roasted grapes, and they're kind of good for the holidays, just kind of a moody looking salad in the winter.
The burrata, though, are you putting that on after the grapes come out, or are you actually cooking the burrata?
I don't cook the burrata, but the warm grapes give it a melt it a little bit, so it just softens it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because putting the burrata in there, that would turn into quite quite a mess. So now you also have sweet treats in this book. You even have some cocktails. You have quite the selection. Let's talk about a couple of those.
Well, when I was following the specific carbohydrate diet, the only sweetener I could have was honey and like fruit. So, real natural applesauce. So, I learned to make desserts, and I couldn't have all purpose flour or grains. So, I learned to make baked goods with almond flour, coconut flour, honey, and applesauce. And since I've been able to add more foods to my diet, I've also included maple syrup and maple sugar and coconut sugar as sweeteners. So the baked goods in the book, I have, let's see, some ginger cookies, which are great for Christmas, tahini freezer fudge, a chocolate avocado pudding, sesame cookies, grain-free peanut butter cookies. There are a lot of treats. I love a good cookie as much as the next person. I have a sweet, but I know that it's much better if I make it myself, where I can choose the ingredients and use almond flour and honey as a sweetener. Um, and then I know that I'm choosing a better sweet.
Now, you mentioned something earlier, chocolate avocado pudding. How different is that? You got to tell me how to make it.
The chocolate avocado pudding is a very simple dessert to make. You just need two ripe avocados. You peel those, remove the pits, and throw them in a blender. Add 5 tablespoons of maple syrup, a teaspoon of vanilla, a quarter cup of cocoa powder, and a half a cup of coconut milk. And then you're going to puree that, blend it in the blender or a food processor you could use as well until it's smooth. And then you can chill it. And you can top it with coconut whipped cream or any type of whipped cream, but it tastes incredible. You would never guess that avocado is the base of that pudding.
Right. I mean, does the avocado give it its own color with a tinge of green, or you're putting cocoa powder in there, but does it really come out looking like chocolate pudding?
It does. It looks exactly like chocolate pudding. The cocoa powder turns it a rich chocolatey brown color. And the avocado, the fat in that just gives it that creamy, smooth consistency, which makes it perfect for someone who is dairy free but wants a dessert that tastes like it has dairy in it.
That's very cool. Chocolate avocado pudding. Wow. Now,
Uh,
what about these cocktails? It's kind of fun that you include some interesting cocktails in this book.
Yes, I mean, I love a good cocktail. I think it's fun. I love I'm when I make craft cocktails, I make a honey simple syrup. Like I said before, I could only have honey as a
Right.
sweet. So there is a pineapple mezcal cocktail that I really like, where I make a simple syrup with honey. I take a cup of honey, a half a cup of water, one bunch of cilantro, and a chopped up jalapeno, and I simmer it together for a few minutes, and then I let it sit for 5 minutes and strain the syrup. So to get rid of the chopped cilantro and the jalapeno. So that I use as a sweetener. I take mezcal and, let's say, 2 ounces of the mezcal, an ounce of this jalapeno syrup, 2 ounces of pineapple juice, 2 ounces of club soda, and combine that and serve it over ice. And that is just a really unique. I love the sweetness of the pineapple, the smokiness of the mezcal, and the spiciness of the jalapeno. It's just a really fun, refreshing cocktail.
It really is. It's a great combination that most people probably wouldn't even think of. And I love the fact that you're using honey for the simple syrup instead of sugar.
Yes.
That's a great idea for a nice, different cocktail. We're talking with Emily Maxson. The brand new book is called Real Food Every Day. How do we find you on social media and everywhere else?
You can find me at Emily's Fresh Kitchen on Instagram, and also emilysfreshkitchen.com is my website. My books are available there on my website, also on Amazon and local stores in the Twin Cities area.
It's really been a pleasure chatting with you today, Emily. Thank you so much. And your story is just incredible. I wish you lots of continued success with your endearing love for real food. And I hope that you can inspire a lot of other people to continue that way.
Thank you, Tonia. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
You've been listening to Food Talk for Health with Tonia King. Thanks for joining us. Eat well to be well.
We hope you'll subscribe to this podcast. Thanks for listening to Food Talk for Health.